At dawn, when the dew still clung to the tips of the grass, Tusia slung a large basket across her back and followed the red dirt path leading up the hill. Her footprints pressed softly into the damp earth, soaked with morning mist. The valley wind rose, carrying with it the scent of soil, pomelo leaves, and that faint familiar fragrance of the countryside. When she reached the orchard, she looked up at the pomelo trees heavy with fruit. Under the early sunlight, each golden sphere glistened, its smooth skin coated in a delicate layer of dew. Tusia reached for one, sliced lightly into it. The flesh inside was pink, plump and bursting with sweetness. Harvest time had finally come. She began cutting each fruit carefully, placing them gently into her basket. The soft sound of her knife against the stems echoed rhythmically, the humble melody of labor she had long known by heart. When the basket filled, she covered it with a sackcloth to keep the fruits from bruising, then slipped the strap over her shoulders. The load was heavy, her body leaned slightly to balance it, yet her eyes remained bright, steady and strong. Step by step, she made her way down the hill, the weight pressing on her shoulders but her heart light as air. She only hoped to sell them at a good price, enough to buy milk for her child. The sunlight filtered through the trees, casting a golden glow over her small frame and the basket full of fruit, illuminating the quiet strength of a hard-working woman. Across the dirt road, Hung was surveying the hillside alone. He stopped, hands tucked in his pockets, his gaze sweeping across the slopes. After the long rains, much of the soil had eroded. The trees were sparse, and only a few tufts of grass clung stubbornly to the dry earth. He stood there for a long time, studying the gashes carved by runoff down the hill, a quiet worry stirring inside him. If this keeps up, the land will collapse when the next rains come. I have to start planting again, regreening these hills. I can't let my father's years of work fade away like this. The thought weighed heavily on him. The morning breeze carried the resinous scent of pine, and somewhere within it, the sweet aroma of ripe pomelos. Hung lifted his head toward the opposite hill, where in the distance the silhouette of a woman appeared, bent slightly under the weight of a full basket on her back. He stood still. From that far away, her face was just a blur, but something about her figure, her steady steps, made him pause. Something about it felt familiar, a warmth tinged with a quiet ache rising in his chest. The wind stirred her sleeve, and he remained where he was, watching silently, until her small figure disappeared beyond the slope, leaving behind an unspoken feeling that lingered deep within his heart. At dawn, when mist still blanketed the paths, Tusia carried her baskets of pomelos to the market. Her steps were light but steady on the damp red earth, the creak of her bamboo pole blending with the birds' morning calls. When she reached the market, she found a small spot beside the familiar vegetable and meat stalls, softly asking to sit and lay out her goods. The vegetable seller smiled and nodded. "Go ahead and sit here, dear. The market's busy today, you'll sell out quick." Tusia opened her basket and carefully arranged the round, glossy pomelos on her bamboo mat. The dew still clinging to their green skins sparkled under the morning light, their fresh, citrus scent drifting through the corner of the market. As the crowd grew thicker, the air filled with the cheerful chorus of vendors' calls. "Fresh vegetables here. Just cut pork. Sweet pomelos, anyone?" She sat quietly behind her display, gently wiping each fruit clean, her gaze calm and kind. When customers stopped by, her voice was soft, warm. "These pomelos are very sweet, ma'am. Picked just this morning. The rind's thin, the flesh plump, lots of juice. Some bought to eat, some to gift." And soon her basket began to empty. The sunlight rose higher, streaming through the gaps in the market roof, glinting on her flushed cheeks. After a while, her pomelos were all sold. She exhaled with quiet relief, tidied the mat, gathered the small scraps of leaves and bags, then lifted the now empty baskets onto her shoulders. Before leaving, she turned to her neighboring vendors with a smile. "I'm heading home now. I'll bring more pomelos tomorrow." They called back warmly. "All right, get some rest. It'll be hot by noon." As she stepped out of the market, the village road lay under the shade of trees, the breeze carrying the faint sweet scent of pomelos. The baskets on her shoulders were empty now, but her heart was full of the quiet joy of a hard-working woman whose effort had earned a simple comfort for her little home and her child waiting by the kitchen fire. On her way home from the market, Tusia carried her empty baskets, her steps slow and steady along the small slope leading to the edge of the village. A soft breeze drifted by, carrying the scent of fresh grass and the distant murmur of a flowing stream. Morning sunlight filtered gently through the trees, scattering golden streaks across her shoulders. Suddenly, the sound of a car engine came from behind. She stepped aside to make way. The vehicle slowed to a stop, the window rolled down, and a familiar voice, deep, calm, tinged with surprise, called out, "Lythieuca, is that you?" She looked up and met the gaze of Hung, the man who had often helped her at the factory. He wore a crisp white shirt, still holding a rolled-up blueprint in his hand, but his eyes softened when he saw her standing there, sweat glistening on her face under the midday sun. "Let me give you a ride. It's too hot to walk in this weather." Lythieuca hesitated, gripping the strap of her carrying pole tightly. "No, it's fine. I'm used to walking. You should get back to the site before you're late." But Hung had already stepped out, gently taking the baskets from her shoulders. His tone was patient, warm. "Come on, it's no trouble. Just let me help." Left with little choice, she nodded and murmured a quiet thank you. He opened the car door for her, waiting until she settled in before starting the engine. The car moved slowly along the winding dirt road, flanked by green fields and the soft gurgle of the stream running beside them. Inside the car, silence lingered. Neither spoke, only the hum of the air vent and the whisper of the water outside filled the air, a quiet, almost awkward peace. Hung glanced over, noticing how she sat close to the window, eyes lost in thought. He pressed his lips together, then smiled faintly to break the silence. "Have you been doing well lately?" She turned to him, her expression gentle, her voice soft. "Yes, I'm fine. Thank you." Then silence again. But in her eyes there was a flicker of shyness, gratitude, and something unspoken. The car stopped in front of her gate. Lythieuca bowed slightly, her voice light as the breeze. "Thank you, Mr. Hung. You've gone out of your way for me." Hung shook his head. "It's nothing. Take care of yourself." She smiled, nodded, and stepped out. Her small figure disappeared behind the line of bamboo at the entrance. He watched until she opened her door and went inside before turning the car back toward the factory. After driving a short distance, he pulled over to the side of the road, turned off the engine, and stepped out. The forest wind swept past, cool and damp with the scent of the stream. He looked up at the bright blue sky and exhaled a long, heavy sigh. Thoughts crowded his mind, thoughts he'd never said aloud. How many times had he helped her, cared for her, found excuses just to be near? And yet, she still kept her distance, never truly letting him in. His eyes grew distant, touched with quiet sorrow. Then he smiled faintly, a sad, resigned smile. Maybe. Sometimes caring isn't enough. People stay only when they want to, not when you try to make them. With that, he got back into the car and started the engine. The vehicle rolled forward, leaving behind the sound of the running stream, and the image of a lonely man carrying an affection he'd never dared to name. As Hung drove, his thoughts wandered. The winding road back to the factory was quiet. Only the whisper of wind through the roadside trees and the faint, earthy scent left behind by last night's rain kept him company. The tires hummed steadily against the damp road, yet his mind drifted elsewhere, back to that evening when he had invited Lythieuca and her baby over for dinner. He remembered it clearly. That night, she wore a simple brown blouse, her hair neatly tied behind her head. Her face was gentle, touched with a hint of shyness. In her arms was her 3-month-old son, lying peacefully, occasionally waving his tiny hands in the air and smiling in his sleep. The meal was plain, just a few humble dishes, but somehow it felt warmer than any feast he had known. As Hung picked up a piece of braised fish she had cooked, he couldn't help but remark, "You cook really well. It tastes just like the meals I used to have at home." Then, almost without thinking, he added with a quiet, heartfelt laugh, "If someone were waiting at home like this every day, I don't think I'd ever want to go anywhere else." His words hung in the air. For a moment the room fell silent. Lythieuca lowered her gaze, her cheeks flushed pink, her eyes flickering with both shyness and confusion. She quickly changed the subject, her voice soft. "Eat while it's still warm, or it won't taste as good." The baby in her arms stirred, clutching a fold of her sleeve with his tiny hand. Watching them like that, mother and child bathed in the soft glow of the oil lamp, Hung felt something stir deep inside him. Warmth, tenderness, and a quiet longing he couldn't quite name. Now, as the car rolled down a sun-dappled road, that moment replayed vividly in his mind. He exhaled slowly, murmuring to himself, "Maybe I still haven't made her feel safe enough. Not enough for her to trust me, to truly open her heart." His hands tightened slightly on the steering wheel, his gaze firm, his voice a quiet vow. "Hang in there, Hung, one day she'll understand." The car drove farther and farther, leaving behind the narrow dirt road that led to the little thatched house, and the image of a woman cradling her child, peaceful and tender, that lingered in his heart long after she had faded from view. After a long morning of hard work, Diep finally exhaled in relief. The sun now shone high above, filtering through the trees and glinting softly against her sun-bronzed skin. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and her calloused hands never stopped moving. She scattered ash over the freshly turned soil, each shovel of fine white powder falling evenly onto the ground. The ash swirled in the sunlight, sparkling like tiny golden dust, settling gently on her tousled hair. Every motion she made was slow, careful, deliberate, as if she were pouring her whole heart into each patch of earth. Each handful of ash, each seed she planted, carried with it a quiet hope, much like the tender feeling quietly taking root in her heart, soft yet steadfast. Across the hill, Hung was walking through the pomelo orchard with his older brother. Rows of fruit-laden trees stretched before them, the deep green of the leaves dotted with clusters of ripe golden pomelos glowing under the sun. Their gentle citrus fragrance drifted through the warm breeze, mingling with the earthy scent of soil. His brother said as they walked, "This crop looks good. If the weather stays kind, we can start harvesting by the end of the month." Hung nodded, scanning the orchard with focused eyes. He stepped toward a tree heavy with fruit, reached up and picked one golden pomelo. With a small knife he cut it open. The segments shimmered in the light, plump and glistening, releasing a sweet, cool aroma. He peeled one wedge and tasted it. The flavor burst across his tongue, sweet and fresh, with just a hint of tartness. It was honest, pure, like the land itself. He smiled, turning to his brother. "The pomelos are perfect. I've been thinking maybe we should expand, plant more trees on the far slope. The soil's still good there, and it's close to the water source." His brother paused for a moment, then nodded. "That might work. But expanding means more labor. We'll have to plan carefully." Hung's eyes brightened. "I've thought about that. We can hire local people, give them steady work. It's good business, but it also helps the community." They continued walking along the ridge, their footsteps blending with the rustle of pomelo leaves. In the distance, sunlight danced on the golden fruits, each one gleaming like a small sun hanging in the sky. The season of harvest was drawing near, and in Hung's heart, another kind of hope was ripening too. To build a life strong enough to protect the woman he quietly cared for, the one whose presence lingered with him through every dawn and every field he walked. At noon, sunlight filtered softly through the green canopy, spilling over the small yard in front of the house. Diep sat on the porch, cradling her 3-month-old son in her arms, feeding him with a bottle. The baby drank with his eyes closed, his long lashes trembling faintly, his tiny fingers clutching the edge of his mother's blouse. She gazed at him, her heart swelling with quiet affection, a simple, tender happiness beyond words. When he finished, she gently carried him inside and laid him on the little bamboo bed. He stirred once, then quickly drifted into a deep, peaceful sleep. Outside, a row of sparrows perched along the roof, chirping and fluttering as if weaving a melody of the tranquil forest. In the yard below, chickens and ducks waddled about in search of food, their clucks and quacks blending with the soft sigh of the wind sweeping through the distant trees. A moment later, the baby stirred again, his tiny hands reaching out as if searching for his mother's warmth. Hearing the faint sound, Diep glanced over and smiled softly before returning to the half-finished chores in the kitchen. She sat beside the fire, skillfully tying clusters of garlic and dried shallots together with thin strands of straw. Her movements were slow and practiced, familiar gestures shaped by years of care. Every now and then, she looked up toward the rafters, where bundles of golden garlic and onions already hung drying in neat rows. She added a few more to the beam, so when the rains came they would stay dry, and the future meals would still carry the warm, familiar scent of crisp fried shallots and toasted garlic. The mountain landscape shimmered in the stillness of noon. A small house nestled among endless greenery, smoke curling lazily from the kitchen, and a gentle breeze rustling through the bamboo grove. Everything felt simple and serene, as if time itself had slowed down in this quiet corner of the world. She looked up at the deep blue sky, squinting against the sunlight, a faint smile curving her lips. Then she turned back inside, picked up a basket of corn and some grain, and scattered them across the yard to feed the chickens and ducks. Their cheerful clucking and quacking filled the air, crowding playfully around her feet and bringing life to the quiet afternoon. As she bent down to scoop another handful of feed, a strange sound came from the gate footsteps, followed by the faint hum of an engine stopping outside. Startled, Lucia set the basket down, wiped her hands on her apron, and hurried into the house. The baby had woken, letting out a soft whimper. She rushed to his side, scooped him up gently, and whispered, "Sure, it's okay, sweetheart. Mama's here. Go back to sleep." Her voice was light as a breeze, her warmth soothing the little one back into calm. He nestled into her chest, his tiny hand clutching her blouse, his breathing steadying again. Lucia sat down beside the bamboo bed, rocking him softly, her eyes filled with boundless tenderness. Through the window, a slant of sunlight slipped in, casting on the wall the silhouettes of mother and child, one small and fragile, the other a soft round form of peaceful sleep. Outside, the rustle of leaves and the murmur of a faraway stream blended into a gentle lullaby, as if the whole forest were keeping watch over their quiet afternoon. At that very moment, on the other side of the hill, Hung was walking with his older brother, talking about the grapefruit orchard. The two moved slowly along the narrow dirt path lined with neat rows of trees, the sweet scent of ripe fruit drifting gently in the breeze. His brother spoke in a calm, thoughtful tone. "The traders from the west want to buy in bulk this time. The price is decent. If we sell at the right time, we'll make a good profit." Hung nodded, his gaze fixed on the golden clusters of grapefruit swaying softly in the sunlight. "I think so too. But to keep our reputation, we have to make sure the quality stays high. The eastern slope still has space. We can expand there next season." His brother looked around, then turned to him and said slowly, "I've been thinking. Maybe you should move to that piece of land across the commune. It's wider and closer to the industrial area. If you set up a small factory for grapefruit essential oil and processing, it'd be like continuing what our father started. I'll look after things here." Hung fell silent for a moment. His eyes drifted toward the hazy line of mountains shimmering under the morning sun. When he finally spoke, his voice softened. "I've thought about that too. But there are still things I can't let go of here. There's someone I'm not ready to leave behind." His brother chuckled quietly, giving him a knowing look. "That girl at the foot of the hill, right?" Hung smiled faintly but didn't answer. He simply nodded, eyes following the shafts of light filtering through the leaves. For a while, neither of them spoke. The hum of cicadas filled the air, signaling the coming of noon. Sunlight grew stronger, pouring gold across the hillside. His brother patted his shoulder gently, voice steady and warm. "If it's truly from the heart, then do what you feel is right. Good men are never forsaken by heaven." Hung nodded. A small smile appeared, though his eyes still carried a quiet weight, something left unsaid. Together, the two brothers made their way down the hill. Their shadows stretched long across the red earth path, mingling with the lingering scent of ripe grapefruit clinging faintly to their sleeves. Inside Hung's heart, thoughts continued to weave and churn. Business plans, family duties, and the image of a quiet woman living by the mountainside, holding her baby in a smoke-scented home. The sun burned brighter overhead, yet his heart remained restless. Lucia busied herself for a while in the small garden behind her house. Her hands were streaked with damp soil, yet they moved quickly and carefully. She bent down, gently pressing each tiny seedling into the soft earth, patting the soil around its roots, then sprinkling a little water. The droplets sparkled as they fell, sinking into the ground and releasing that familiar earthy scent of fresh, damp soil. Before long, neat rows of tender green shoots appeared, small, fragile, yet brimming with hope and the quiet patience of their grower. Sweat rolled down her temples, soaking into her collar, but Lucia didn't seem to notice. Her eyes followed every seedling with quiet focus, and a faint, serene smile bloomed on her lips, warm and gentle as the morning sun. The breeze passed through the garden, rustling the banana leaves and casting dappled shadows across the ground. In the distance, the murmur of a brook blended with the calls of birds returning to their nests, forming a soft, peaceful melody of the coming evening. The sky began to lean westward. The sun dipped behind the mountains, glowing a deep red before melting into streaks of rose across the horizon. The last golden light brushed over her hair, glinting softly, bathing the garden in a tender calm. Lythieuca sat down beside the newly planted rose, lifting her gaze to the sky that was slowly fading to dusk. The forest breeze was cool and fragrant with the scent of earth and grass. She exhaled quietly, her eyes shining with a gentle sense of contentment. Another day had passed, simple and whole, in the stillness of the mountain valley.
Hôm nay thì mình làm video. Thường thì như ở trên kênh mình thì trước kia mình cũng có hay lên nội dung của lytieuca rồi, nhưng mà thường thì mình sẽ lên ít. Từ trước thì mình chỉ có lên 1-2 tập thôi, bây giờ thì mình sẽ lên nhiều hơn. Một phần là do mình muốn đưa thêm một câu chuyện khác nữa trên kênh đến với mọi người. Để ngoài câu chuyện của LyTuDiep hay lâu lâu thì mình cũng đã lên video của lythica, thì hôm nay mình muốn đưa thêm đến với mọi người video của lytieuca nữa để mọi người có thể xem. Tiểu ca và Hùng thì là một cặp đôi khá là đẹp đôi, cũng như là trải qua rất là nhiều khó khăn, và thậm chí họ còn Hùng còn chấp nhận Tiểu ca với 2 người con của cô một cách rất là tình cảm. Vậy thì diễn biến và tình cảm của họ sẽ đi đến đâu và sẽ